Yes, everyone. This is your soul brother Talib, and the subject title for this video is called "Is America Falling?" Let me start off first with saying that I have a book called "The Fall of America," written by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and this book was written back in 1973, or at least published in 1973, by the words of Elijah Muhammad, talking about the fall of America according to his thesis of religious prophecy, of course. And I'm not going to use his religious analogy concerning this, but I will say certain things, of course, said in that book definitely reflects on what is going on today in American society as we know it still today in 2019. And, with all the lawlessness, like he talked about in that book, that's going on, where, under the eyes of this government and its law enforcement institutions, we have some of the most hideous crimes, you know, known to all mankind going on in this land. That's being unresolved every day. Even within the court system, is being unresolved, where the victims are not really getting no justice. Although in some cases they are, but in a lot of cases they are not. And, like someone by the name of Willie D said, in a recent video just posted on YouTube on his channel called Willie D Channel, that are we really looking into the future of this nation? Basically, is the way he put it, when it was relating to a former NFL football player that has been charged with multiple rape crimes against elderly women out in California. And, you know, and the question was raised, will he in fact even go to prison over these crimes? And I want to say this, the way this system is, and like even what Willie D mentioned, which is true, people knew that Donald Trump had a history of sexual assault complaints against him being made by women that accused him of sexually assaulting them, and stuff like that. And coming forward with these allegations, which was even strong allegations, and yet he still got elected as president of the United States. And then you had a large segment of women, which Willie D also pointed out, that played a part in Alabama Republican getting elected to, I believe, Congress, or I think a Senate seat. And he almost got elected, and this guy was definitely accused of having sex with minors. But see, this goes to show you that in this country, there is no moral standards, as America has always put itself out there to be, as far as the nation with the most moral standards of any other country in the world. But yet, we see the continuous wretched record of the United States when it comes to so-called morality or so-called moral values as this so-called Christian nation, and stuff like that. And we start seeing all these other allegations coming up now where high profile leaders in this country, as well as just high profile prominent people, are being linked to having sex with minors, which is related to this case of this guy Jeffrey Epstein, who committed suicide while he was in federal custody facing trial for these criminal allegations of having sex with minors. And so, I mean, with all this said, I just want to say that this is definitely a indication that, in fact, America could be falling as a nation. There's no checks and balances. I mean, we could look and see how even, the so-called leadership of the Democratic Party, is allowing Trump to get away with stonewalling against the Constitution, far as letting Congress do its job, far as them investigating his political crimes that he's been committing. And whereas people are not being held accountable when it comes to answering to subpoenas, which they have outrightly, rejected to doing. And at the behest of Trump himself, of course, and his administration. And so now, we're seeing the unfolding of, checks and balances not being enforced. Although there is talk of trying to enforce these checks and balances, but they're steadily going unchecked. And this is the type of country that we find ourselves living in. And I mean, when we see this going on, where you can't even get the Congress or the Senate to agree on, the ideal of impeaching this president, who is actually a known criminal, and to have been known as being a criminal even before he got elected as president. I mean, it's obvious that now we see that there's no checks and balances. And throughout the whole entire system of politics, as well as the criminal justice system go, we seeing every day that there are a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of quirks that is going unchecked, where injustices is continuing every day to go on in this nation. But yet, we always have been the first country to want to point the finger at other nations committing injustices on its own citizens. But yet, we not checking the skeletons in the closet going on within this country, you know. And this definitely needs to be addressed by those of us who are dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America, by surrounding ourselves with protection against this. This is the reason why the Mississippi campaign is very important, coming from the platform that I speak from, because this would give us an avenue to protect ourselves against this kind of injustices that we see going on throughout the rest of America, from our government on down the ladder, and of course we know that we as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born here in America, when it comes to justice, we're not even the last to be thought of. Unless it's some type of outrage or something going on, that will force the system of this nation to pay attention, where at least a few of us here and there might get some justice, like here and there, like in the case of the cop that killed Eric Garner being fired, or the cop in Oklahoma City that went to prison for 263 years over sexually assaulting black women that he had in his custody. Here and there you might, get some justice, but I'm talking about across the board, where everybody that is a descendant of dark-skinned slaves born here in America, that will receive justice as a whole for once and for all. And this is why we keep stressing the importance of the Mississippi campaign, where we will have a state behind us, which will solidify protection for us as a whole, as 44 plus dark-skinned descendants here in America, far as being dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America. And this is why we're pushing that analogy of importance for us to have a state like Mississippi behind us. Well, as then we can move on to have a couple other states like Alabama and Georgia behind us, where we will have, and then expand that to other states, which we could have to back us. so that we could quarantine ourselves away from this injustices that we see going on across this nation every day. Because it is time for us as a people who have been enslaved for hundreds of years and oppressed for hundreds of years, more than any other ethnicity group in this country, that we would be able to finally see true liberation and justice for once and for all. And that's why I decided to, speak out on this subject in this video called Is America Falling? Because yes, America is falling. America is constantly falling every day. Not only morally, but as a society in general, it's falling. You know, there are no checks and balances when it comes to all facets dealing with this society. Anything goes at this point. I mean, you could kill somebody, and even kill them in front of the police. And, you'll find the perpetrator of such crime, not sitting in prison too long. And I mean, stuff like this happens every day in this country, and it's a known fact. I mean, I mean, I mean, it is known cases where people have committed horrific crimes, even like I said, killing people in front of the police, and back walking the streets. Matter of fact, in the same neighborhood where they committed such crimes at, and walking around like ain't nothing happened. And this is the type of country that we're living in. And I mean, when we look at this and we see this going on, and I'm not saying that this is not happening around the world, but considering the fact that, we're living in a nation with over 300 million people, we could say that this creates a more worse atmosphere like this, as far as what I'm speaking on. Which, like I said, the rights, the sanctity rights that, even the elderly should deserve is not being respected nor protected. There's no outrage for the elderly that is being victimized in this country. There's no outrage for the way that our children are being victimized in this country. And like I heard someone say in another video that, people will wage more of an outrage over a dog being shot before they wage an outrage over the way that our elderly are being victimized in this country. And that's a shame. That really is a shame. And that just tells you that, that we are, in fact, witnessing a society that we're in that's falling every day right before our eyes, that's just crumbling. And it's no obvious intentions on doing anything massively to eradicate this situation that is going on every day before our eyes, because everybody is so busy trying to, do whatever it takes to get a dollar, which is their number one main concern over everything else, and or they trying to do other things that are less irrelevant, but that's more important, to which I speak on in this video, and it's just I mean, it makes you wonder. It makes people wonder. In fact, will we see this society getting even more worse in this case as the future looms ahead of us? And see, this is the reason why from the Reality Temple Ministries platform, or the Reality Temple on Earth platform, that we come with this ideal of pushing this analogy far as the Mississippi campaign, which is very important. It is very important because this gives us, as a people who are dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America, a chance at being majorly protected from all this continuous injustices as a whole going on in society, and which gives us a chance even to separate ourselves altogether from this society as a whole, But like I said, because many of us look at the Mississippi campaign as a, joke, or as some kind of pipe dream, as some have already stated, it is being allegedly, which, of course, because they haven't given it a chance, like they give all this other trivial stuff a chance, which ain't worked in terms of our people being liberated completely, once and for all, from the trenches of where we find ourselves at here in American society. I mean, now it's obviously that it's a chance that we will be totally annihilated as a people. And I want to just bring up something that I mentioned last week also in a video or two, that, and like someone else also said, which I will repeat, if they could destroy tens of millions of natives in this land like they did upon the arrival of European colonists in this country, you don't think that they could annihilate the tens of millions of us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America today that still exist in this country after still being oppressed and enslaved for hundreds of years, going on 500 years? Do you think that they don't have the most powerful capability of resources than they had even then, when they destroyed tens of millions of original Native Americans in this country and wiped them out completely? I mean, you think that with all the advanced powers that they have today, that they cannot wipe us out as 44 million plus dark-skinned descendants of slaves born here in America? I mean, you really got to be out of your mind if you think that can't happen, because we don't have it together to put a defense up against such actions that's subject to take place against us as a people in this nation. And this is why we constantly keep pushing this analogy far as the Mississippi campaign, which is so more important than anything else right now concerning our plight as 44 million dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America being concerned. And, looking at this situation, I mean, with the fall, as they say, of America, we have to understand that this is real and live action, living colors. This is definitely real. And, this is why we at this platform take things so seriously as we do. And why we really don't have no room or time for foolishness coming from this platform. Like so many other platforms in black YouTube land do. We don't have time for all this. And matter of fact, we may have ran out of time, as someone would say. And I mean, considering, what we are facing every day as people in this country. And because we're sitting right in the belly of the whale, as those of you in the pro-black conscious community call it, far as America, or which is also referred to as Babylon as well by some, We're sitting right here in the belly of the whale, knowing that it's falling, but we ain't making no preparations to get out of her. And that's a sick situation. That's the most insane part. When you know it's falling, but you ain't making no moves to try to get out of her. And I mean, because this is a sick society that we're living in. I mean, considering, like I said before, I'm not saying the things that go on in this society is not happening around this world, but I'm going to tell you this much for those of you that will be listening to this video, that what we hear going on in other nations like Mexico, El Salvador, Venezuela, Honduras, Iraq, Syria, Afghanistan, Sudan, Rwanda, the Congo Republic, or what may be going on in other parts of the world, it's no worse than what's happening here in America. You may not think so, but just keep on living and you will see. Just keep on learning, hopefully, before it's too late for you. Just like a sister said, a sister who worked 27 years here in America as a school teacher and decided to retire in Mexico, where she presently lives at this time. And where she lives at in Mexico, she straight up said that she feels more safer there than she felt while she was living here in America. Mind you, a country like Mexico, of course, that's known for thousands upon thousands of people being killed in the name of the war on drugs, or what they call the Mexican drug cartel or whatever. Well, I was recently speaking to someone about that, and they said that can't be no worse than these mass shootings that's taking place here in America. And I had to concur with that statement because, at least in Mexico and in other countries, like I mentioned, especially like down in that Latin American area, region, at least all them killings going on is about mere survival because they don't have much in them countries as compared to the resources that we have here in America. When it comes to survival and all that type of stuff there, and so I mean they're just killing to mainly survive. But up here in the United States or in North America, as you want to, whatever however you want to put it, you know, they're killing here in America over less trivial stuff, or basically for nothing, like because of the difference in somebody's skin color or some other stupid, crazy, pathetic stuff that people are committing these mass shootings over, you know, and that's a big difference when you look at the circumstances of why so many people is just getting killed and dying in the large numbers where these murders is taking place. So like I said before, I had to agree with that statement. And I remember it takes me back because I talked to a brother years ago. It was a black Muslim brother who claimed the Nation of Islam as his belief system being concerned. And he said the same thing or in a similar basic way, but in a different manner when he was saying that it's going to get worse in the United States than what it is in Mexico. And when a lot of these killings started happening in Mexico, which was maybe about, I'd say, almost 10 years ago, when this conversation was brought up about, the United States getting worse than what it is in Mexico. And when we look today, from that time up to now, in 2019, and up in more recent times, we could see what's taking place far as with these constant mass shootings going on. Like with that Caucasian that shot all them people at that concert in Las Vegas. With that mass shooting that took place in Orlando, Florida, in that club where those LGBT people got killed. Like I think 50 of them or something like that. And then you had the Parkland school shooting down in Florida where 17 people got killed. And then the list could go on. Like where Dylan Roof walked into that black church and massacred 9 people in that church down in Charleston, South Carolina. And then with the situation that just took place recently in El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio. And the list could go on. And then with several people that was shot at a garlic festival recently in a small town out there in California. So the list could keep going on and on. It's not getting no worse, no different than like someone said or what's going on in Mexico. It's definitely not no worse in Mexico than it is here right now. And with these shootings, like I said, that's going on, this wasn't about survival. These shootings was about just sheer, pure hatred because of the color of somebody else, because of someone who looks different than somebody else. And with that hatred being produced is what's causing these shootings to happen. So, like I said before, with these shootings taking place like this, and then the fact that the government has of yet to even, declare these type of militia or so-called white nationalists, white supremacist groups as terrorists, of course, is still giving them the green light that they could continue on committing these type of horrific crimes against other people that don't look like them. And that's just more is worse than what's going on in Latin American countries, like with the Mexican cartel or the MS-13, that's just killing over mere poverty and survival. That's a big difference. And of course, because of the impoverished state that those countries are in, which has a lot of the doing of America and their influence in those countries, is why that's going on, of course. So like I said before, it's a difference with these mass shootings in America, comparing them to shootings that's taking place in other parts of the world, where people is just doing it because they trying to survive or whatever, Whereas here, people just killing just for the heck of it. They see you because they don't like you for whatever reason, and they just blow your brains out. So that's a sign, that's a clear sign that shows that society is definitely getting worse, without no question. And the fact that it definitely does deal with the question as, is America falling? So, when we look at this reality and see what we're dealing with in a nation full of violence, and which is already being considered as probably the most violent country in the world right now, we have to consider, the question is this nation called the good US of A falling? And what we must do to prepare ourselves, particularly as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born in America that's living in this nation, to make that exit out of this such, nation that's falling right now, in the ways that I've just explained in this video. Because it's apparent, because of what we see going on all across the board, in every facet way that could be explained, that this nation is definitely on the brink of total destruction as a country. And like we said in other videos, no nation could stand forever and last forever. History has proven that, of course. Like I've spoken about in other videos concerning the fall of big civilizations and empires. And America is no different. And we could see that unfolding right now. And if we don't do something as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born here in America to, protect ourselves from this such situation that's going on right now, we might as well consider ourselves a totally exterminated people, as the plan is for us as dark-skinned descendants of slaves born here in America. And with that said, I just want to say a few words in this video, just to bring that to those of you who will be listening. And if you have any comments, jot them in the comment section, and I get back with you on it. And with that said, peace.